get in the pool. That's what I'm talking about. Woo! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Inspirational Outdoors. I'm Jake McHugh, and today we are going to cover frog fishing. Frog fishing is one of the best and the most fun ways to catch bass, in my opinion. You have the topwater explosions that we all know and love, but yet you can throw a frog literally anywhere that you want because it's completely weedless. So you can throw it right into the homes of bass, and when you combine that with the topwater blowups, well, it makes for a really great time. So in this video, we are going to cover the frogs that I use, the colors, the modifications that I make to a frog before I use it, and the rod setups that I use. So stick tight, we got a lot to cover. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe down below so that way you can get more fishing tip videos like this one in the future. And while you're at it, I'll also link other tip videos up here in this corner. So the first thing that I do when I pull a frog out of a package is I check the length of the legs on it, and I kind of trim them up usually. So a lot of times they come long out of the package like this one here, and I don't really prefer that because that kind of prevents the frog from walking side to side easily. So what I do then is I take the legs and I fold them over and I cut them to the length of the frog body. So the end result kind of looks like this more, where it matches the body of the frog, the body length of the frog. And I just think it gives it a better profile, and it makes it where the fish doesn't have so much material to grab to get to the hooks. So I prefer trimming up the legs a little bit. Now, the time of the year and the places that I would fish a frog, that's pretty easy. Basically any time from the late spring on into the fall, I will throw a frog. As soon as that water temperature hits about 65 degrees, I'm not afraid to throw top water. It can be a really good post-spawn bait sometimes, actually. You get those fish that are really kind of aggressive towards top water in the shallows. That's when I like to throw a frog. As far as places now, really you can throw a frog anywhere that you would want. A lot of people think right away, weedless, you gotta throw it in some type of cover or vegetation, and that's not necessarily always the case. You can throw it in open water as well. One of my favorite spots to throw a frog actually is if I have a shallow weed bed or lily pad flat and it quickly drops off right off of that flat into deeper water. You throw a topwater frog right over that drop off, you will get a lot of blowups, and that's one of my favorite places to throw it. Another great place to throw it is laydowns. You can skip it right up underneath all the laydowns in the overhanging branches, and you get some really aggressive blowups back in the sticks too. Now there's a bunch of different kind of types and styles of frogs out on the market nowadays, but I really keep it simple as to the types of frogs that I use. I use just your standard normal, frog, and then I use a popper frog, and I actually like the popper frog a lot. The popper frogs, there's only two brands that I really use. The first one is the Booyah Poppin Pad Crasher, and this is a great budget option. For how much you spend on these frogs, you really can't go wrong. They walk easily, they float, hookup ratio is great. It's actually really good in my opinion, so for the money, you can't beat this frog right here. The other popping frog that I use, and it was probably my favorite frog overall, is the Spro popping frog. This one, the reason why I love it so much is I just love the design. It's a little bit more narrower compared to the Booyah, and it just casts a lot better in my opinion. It walks a lot easier, moves a lot of water. Hookup ratio is pretty good on it, but really what I like the most is the color options that you can get for it are a lot better, and the ability to skip this frog is a lot easier than the Booyah. So this is my favorite frog by far. Now there's certain situations where I prefer a popping frog over a standard frog, and those would be if I'm fishing in like duckweed. The popping frog excels in duckweed in my opinion because it really pushes it out of the way and it really helps the fish track the bait down. Sparse lily pads, I prefer the popping frog over the standard frog because it's going to be sitting in the water a little bit, and it's going to move the water quite a bit, cause a commotion on top of the water, and also help the fish track it down. Otherwise, just like if I'm walking in open water, I tend to use the popping frog as well. I just feel like it just helps the fish hunt it down a lot better. When it comes to standard frogs, there's really 3 different brands that I use with them. The first one being the Booyah Pad Crasher. Best bang for your buck right here. Can't go wrong with this one. The second one being just your normal Spro Bronzeye, the frog that started it all in my opinion in the frog market. This frog is amazing, skips amazing, casts amazing, does everything. And then the last one would be the live target frogs. These ones are a little bit more expensive, but the colors that they have, the design, they look really nice. But hookup ratio is amazing on these, and I love the different sizes that they make. They make them in 3 different sizes. I happen to have them all, but usually I use the 65T, which is this one, and the 55T, which is this one, the most. And this 55T is actually really, really nice for ponds or just everyday fishing where you want to get a lot of blowups. This one is awesome. And what's nice about it is it's that smaller profile, as you can see, but it casts really great. It's still got enough weight where you can cast it a long ways, cover a lot of water. So that's what I like about the live targets. So when I would use a standard frog over a popping frog, it really doesn't matter. I feel like you can use these frogs anywhere and everywhere. When it's a little bit thicker mats or like lily pads, I will tend to throw this because it's not really going to be sitting in the water as much in my opinion. Along with that, windy days when there's you got chop on the water, I feel like this works a little bit better just because when you're trying to use the popping frog, it's really not going to throw that much water when there's so much chop. So that's when I use the standard frogs. When it comes to colors, there's a bunch of different ones out there on the market, and really you can narrow it down to 3 or 4 different colors. And what you need to keep in mind is that it's not so much what's on top of the frog, it's what matters on the bottom of the frog. And so when you're taking that into consideration, you really can narrow it down to the 3 or 4 selected colors of your choice. The first options that I prefer is silver or a white bottom. I like to use these on sunnier days. They silhouette up against the sun a lot better when the fish are looking up. This one right here is a silver bottom. I like silver bottoms because up here I feel like white bottom baits tend to attract northern more, so I kind of opt for the silver bottom like this one here. This is the Spro Killer Gill. Great color. I love this. This is one of my favorites. And then another color that I like a lot is the Leopard. Reason being is it's got a white bottom here, but it also has the black spots where I feel like it helps the fish just dial it in a little bit better. So you want kind of a bright bottom for a sunny day. Next color to look for in the bottom of a frog, I feel like, is yellow. Reason being is that it also silhouettes up against the sun pretty well, but also too, we have a lot of bluegill sunfish up here in Wisconsin, and all the bottoms of them are kind of like an orange or a yellow, so this is when these work great because they imitate a bait fish then on top of the water. So this one's a live target. This is the green-yellow color, I believe they call it. And then this is a red ear by Spro. And I really like this color because it's just a really bright yellow. So it really mimics a bait fish very well on top of the water. And then when you're imitating frogs, you want to have a frog type color bait. So I like carrying like just standard frog colors when I'm throwing frogs. And they're great all around conditions. In my opinion, you can fish them on cloudy days, sunny days. They work whenever. This one right here is Bullfrog by Booyah, and then this one right here is Outback from Spro. And I'll link down in the description all the different colors that I use from each company, but you always want to have a standard, just normal frog color. Last but not least, you definitely want a black color frog, and these ones are great for really cloudy days, early mornings, late evenings, low light conditions. This is where this color shines. The black frog, I just feel like really silhouettes up against the sky on a low light day or a cloudy day, and I feel like the bass are really able to find it easily. And I've caught some of my biggest fish on a black frog, so you definitely want to have an all black frog for sure. Now to go over the rod that I use for frogging, there's one rod. I actually own two of the same identical setups when it comes to frogging because I love this rod so much, and that is the Doybns Fury 735C, and this is the best frog rod for that money can buy in my opinion. I'm not sponsored by Doybns at all, but I just really love this rod a lot. It's a 735, so that's a 7.3 5-power rod, a mag heavy. It's got a fast tip. The tip is perfect for frogging in my opinion. It gives you, it allows you to work the frog exactly the way you want. You can walk it, you can chug it just exactly the way you want, but yet it has the stout backbone where you can slam the hooks home, get that fish hooked up, get them out of the cover. And then it also has a really good taper to it though. It has a good bend to it where it makes it really hard for the fish to throw the frog. I pair it with a Lews BB1 reel. You can use any high-speed reel that you prefer in your favorite reel company. I go a 7.1 to 1 gear ratio reel. I prefer that over the new like 8.1s or 8.3 to 1 gear ratio reels because those don't have the wenching power like a 7.1 to 1 would. So I stick with the 7.1 to 1 for that reason alone. You want a good drag, take that drag, lock it down all the way. You don't want them pulling any line out whatsoever. And as far as line goes, I throw 50-pound braid. I use Sunline FX2 flipping and frogging braid that was designed by Dean Rojas for frogging. Can't beat that line in my opinion. It's a great line. I use 50-pound. I used to use 60, but I found that I pick up about 10 yards more in casting distance using 50, and I found that I don't really need that extra thickness in line or that extra poundage in line. So depending on the cover you're fishing, you may need to use 60 or 65 or even 80 in some cases, but I find that 50 works great for me, and I wouldn't recommend going any lower than that in my opinion. I feel like 50-pound braid is the bare minimum, but you'll catch big fish with 50-pound braid with ease. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this video here. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell so you get notified when the next one drops. And I will catch you in the next video. Peace.